We built Shadow World, all in the computer. We did tests early on that were based on real photography, and the problem with doing a representation of sound that involves real photography is that everything in real photography comes from a source of light, which he can't see. So we did all sorts of cool effects involving Shadow World. This is the way it's going to look. It's going to feel organic, and sound bounces this way and it does that. But it was always based on the way the scene was lit. We discussed early on lighting a scene lit this way and then doing a scene, doing it again lit from here, and doing different versions, so the lighting was always changing. Never was right, because the truth of the matter is the way we're building his Shadow World and his sense of hearing is we're building an organic three-dimensional space where sound waves bounce off of objects.
On this particular shot that I'm working on, he's in a subway, and the subway's going by, and it's very chaotic noise, and he can't really make out what's going on, and there's a villain hiding in the subway. And Shadow World happens when there's more of a constant tone, like a bell, or in this particular case, he bangs his cane against a metal railing, which produces a tone which sort of clears the air of the chaotic noise, and produces a much more clear visual interpretation of what he can see, and hopefully find the bad guy hiding in the subway.
Nothing is actually lit up. Anywhere we are where we see Shadow World, we don't light up the object. We have sound bouncing off it. So you see, everything you see is more shadowed. The sound is visible, but the objects are shadowed. And it's been a real challenge. I mean, we've been working on it for nearly 8 months, and we're still continuing to refine it.
When working with a photoreal effect, you know what you're striving for, a photoreal effect, and you get it to look photoreal, and then you're done. With this, there's always more to be added, and there's always, you don't really know necessarily when you're done, because it is such a kind of a ghostly image, and it's not photoreal, it's photo-unreal, I guess, because we're basing it on a photoreal thing, but then we're pushing it way beyond that, and there's really no end point, until everybody's happy. That's the end point, I guess.
What we've been working on is trying to find ways to make sounds that can translate into what he sees, to try and create an environment that is so sometimes chaotic and sometimes very kind of cacophonous with just sounds all over the place, and then hearing how he can focus in on those specific sounds of something that he's listening for, a specific character, an action that's going to happen, maybe someone that's about to attack him.
What, you don't remember me? Thanks, buddy. Maybe you remember the deep bit.
And it's that focus that we decided was the prime way that we were going to hopefully be able to communicate to people how his hypersenses work. And so it ends up being the kind of contrast between like the craziness of the world around him, which is really great for a sound person, because that means what we have to do is use all these speakers and really make the city come alive, and the focus on something minute and small. So that plays really well into just trying to make it really dynamic and interesting from a sound perspective. So you can go from a really big, crazy environment down to just this little minuscule sound of maybe someone crawling around on the floor, or or a necklace just dangling, or whatever it is that he's going to be focusing on. So from a sound designer's perspective, it's really great because you're not just dealing with like individual sounds. What's this specific sound, or what's that specific sound? You're trying to create a world and also in a way, a new sense, you know, seeing with sound, seeing with smells, which we're trying to figure out the best way to do that.
What, where?
Front door. Not yet, see. Now.